The science of money is not the currency itself, but it's what it represents. It's a value. If we remember what the symbol represents, then we realize that the substance of money, which is value, is all around us. It's just in different forms. Do you know what value you offer? Or are you just doing a job? One will have you idolizing currency, and the other one will have you tapping into the value system of the spirit realm. Because unless you could see the value in what God's even giving you, you can't even multiply it, because you're going to go bury it in the dirt. The spirit of mammon will render God as nothing but a resource, and it will render creation as the source. The devil has a budget. God has abundance. Abundance belongs to God. Spiritual Intelligence for Dummies, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Matt Kim, and today we're talking about money, okay? We're talking about money, and more specifically, the spiritual science behind money, okay? Money is something that I would imagine everybody has to deal with on a regular basis, right? We pay our bills, we get groceries, we buy meals, clothes. All of these things are facilitated by what we call money. Now, I would think that this is relevant to everyone, but if you're, you subscribe to the poverty gospel, you think being poor is virtuous, and you have an issue with money, you think money is evil, then you could just click off this video. God bless. Take care. But if you are curious, stick around, because there is a spiritual underpinning that facilitates the dynamics around money. And I'm trying to see how deep we can go, but we'll get there. So let's start with this. I've talked about money in previous videos, in bits and pieces here and there. But if I were to do a recap, simply put, what is money? Okay, money is currency. So then you ask yourself, what is currency? Currency is a token or a symbol that represents something else. Okay, so for our purposes, we could talk about paper money. These bills that we have, they are just a symbol that represents what? It represents value. Okay, money is a currency that symbolizes value. Okay. Now, why is that important to note? Why is it important to make that distinction? Because a lot of times we get hung up on the money. We get hung up on the currency, the symbol, instead of what the symbol represents. Because if we remember what the symbol represents, then we realize that the substance of money, which is value, is all around us. It's just in different forms. Let me translate that for you. That means money is everywhere. It's just in a different form. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the substance of money is value. So if we get too attached to the form of value, being paper money, and we idolize, that's what that is. It's idolization. We idolize the currency, the money, the image of the value, then we actually get detached from the substance. We get detached from the value. Okay, so now we're operating in an economy of symbolism and imagery and form versus substance and value, spirit. Okay, I say this all the time on this channel. Remember, when it comes to this life that we live, everything happens first in the realm of the spirit before it happens in the natural. Same thing with money, right? What makes money, what gives money its life force is the value in the realm of the spirit that then takes on a form and is represented in the realm of the natural. Okay? So, then let's talk about, don't stone me for using this phrase. It is pretty salacious. But let's talk about alchemy. Okay? If you guys don't know what alchemy is like a part of like medieval science that essentially fixated on altering one element into another, right? So they'll try to take some common element and alchemize it and make it into something valuable like gold. Okay, so some people view it as like a form of like witchcraft, obviously, depending on how deep down that rabbit hole you want to go, whatever. But in essence, it's a type of transfiguration, right? It's a type of altering the molecular structure of a thing and making it into something else. But for our purposes, what I want to talk about is how do I steward and harness the spiritual essence that is embedded in certain things in order to alchemize it into a form that I can use, namely money. You see, the reason that money is even a conversation is because the unique thing that money has is its universality when it comes to how it could interface, right? I could use money in order to buy groceries and pay somebody. I can use money in order to hire a driver or a babysitter. I could use money in order to pay my bills. I could use money to buy food. I could use money for all these different things. And that's what makes money unique, is its transcendence and its universality, agnostic of the recipient. Most recipients will find value in the currency of money because it's a broad representation of value. Versus, let's say that I am a baseball card collector. That's not a good example. Let me backtrack. Okay, how about this? Let's say that I have a plumbing business. Okay, that is also representative of value. You could put a dollar amount to it. But if I go to the grocery store to buy groceries and I offer to pay with my plumbing services, that won't be valuable to them, and that won't be a currency that they receive unless they're looking for that service in that moment, right? So it's not universally valuable, it's circumstantially valuable. Whereas money, because of what it is, it's a container for value, it's a symbol for value, it transcends that, right? So most people will find use and value in money, right? So it's a very accessible and transcendent currency, unlike other things. For example, my plumbing services, or if I'm a collector and I offer to barter with my collection, not everyone's going to find that valuable, right? So that's what's so unique about money. That's why money is even a conversation. And that's why money is important. Okay. But if it's that universal, that means it's alchemizable. That means it's tradable. Okay. A lot of times when we're looking for money, we are looking for the currency. What is a job that will offer me the most currency? What is the best deal that I could get from this service provider that allows me to save the most currency? We're just looking at the currency. Money. We're fixated on the money, but we have to learn to discern spiritually value. Because where you discern value is where the money is. Okay? Value is the spiritual substance of money. That means money is hidden in potential form wherever you can perceive value. Okay, think about Facebook, for instance, right? Facebook is like, it's a very, very highly valued company now. But when Mark Zuckerberg started it, it wasn't worth that much in dollars, but he saw value in an intangible place, right? In the spirit, so to speak. He saw something intangible, invisible, immaterial. He saw value that then he built out and alchemized and converted into something that had monetary value, right? And obviously this took years, but I'm trying to communicate a principle, is that he alchemized value that he saw in an invisible realm and alchemized it, yeah, and translated it into a material expression so that value became manifest, and it then became interchangeable with a money valuation. That's powerful, right? I mean, it really gives you a different spin on even entrepreneurship, right? A lot of these things that I've discovered about money came by way of my entrepreneurial process. It's like, why do people value what I offer? Should they value what I offer? How do I communicate what I offer so that it sounds valuable? And who do I communicate it to? Because not everyone wants what I'm offering. Because when you can find the people that are already looking for what you're offering, you're almost guaranteed that they value it. And if they value it, you don't need to do a lot of heavy lifting to convince them to buy it at the price that you valued it at. And so essentially, you are bridging the gap and making it easier in order to make money just by focusing on and strategizing around the spiritual substance of money, which is value. Right? So, in essence, if you want money, you better be the best, how do I say this? Treasure hunter for all the hidden value underneath the surface of things, right? Hidden value in potential, hidden value in an idea, hidden value in a relationship. You know, sometimes God's connected me with people that couldn't offer me a lot of money, but they offered me immense value, which then I converted to money on the back end. People that opened doors for me, people that bolstered my reputation, people that I got to serve and build a testimonial, people that are in specific industries. These people they have an immense amount of value that if you were a good steward, you could convert that to money if you want. I mean, you don't have to always, but you can. And so the art of money, the science of money, is not the currency itself, but it's what it represents. It's a value. So you have to begin treasure hunting for the value that you see under the surface of the currency or the material expression. Does this relationship have value? Whoa. Okay. Pause. Time out. I feel like that's a heavy one. Does this relationship have value? Obviously, we love everybody and we love them unconditionally. But that doesn't mean we give them unconditional access, because some people, in you being generous and loving on them, will derail you from your destiny. That's a hard pill to swallow. You got to answer to God for that. Now, I'm not saying you should, go through life neglecting people, but I'm saying we got to measure value and measure purpose. Some people were called to serve and love, and other people were called to partnership, right? It's equitable, right? We're peers, we're on the same level. Other people were meant to lead, and so these have different demands on your life. But either way, you got to perceive the value, right? Think about the parable of the talents, right? They needed some sort of perception of value. Oh, I've been given this much. Let me make it into this much. They wouldn't have done that unless they thought it was important. They thought it was valuable. But the servant who did not steward his master's money, who did not increase it and didn't even put it in the bank, why did he operate like that? It's because of his perception. He didn't perceive he was given anything valuable. He perceived the master to be shrewd. So he operated out of his perception. And so if we want to transform the way we operate when it comes to money, we have to transform our perception. We have to transform our perception. God gave me my ability. God gave me talents according to my abilities. Right? He gave me talents according to my abilities, and it's valuable. Can you say that about yourself? God's given me talents according to my abilities, and it's valuable. Because unless you could see the value in what God's even given you, you can't even multiply it, because you're going to go bury it in the dirt. There's going to be no interest, no increase on that investment. So we have to start with our perception. Do you value what God's given you? That's kind of personal, because I think a lot of times we've been discipled by our traumas. We've been discipled by our families speaking word curses over us. We've been discipled by the enemy. And so we're not even able to value what God's given us. But when we can heal and we can overcome that lie and come into the reality of our identity and begin valuing what God's given us, then, only then, can we multiply it. Okay? We multiply it. And so, I mean, this is a little bit of a mix, I think, in terms of what kind of video this is. This is the spiritual sciences of money. And I think also it has kind of an entrepreneurial touch, right? Even if you don't start your own business, in your place of work, in your 9 to 5, do you know what value you offer? Or are you just doing a job? Because one will have you idolizing currency, and the one will have you tapping into the value system of the spirit realm, right? Do you know what your value is in your place of work? What is a unique thing about you that no one else has that makes it a blessing to work with you? Can you identify that? Because that's where the grace is, guys. That's where the favor is. Because that's where the value is. And if that's where the value is, if you can harness that wherever you are, in your place of work, in your family, in your church, if you can harness that, then the money will follow. The money will follow. Right? Money is a tool. We were never meant to chase money, right? Jesus, when he is talking about trusting in God, right? Why do you worry, right? The birds of the air, right? The flowers of the field. They're fed, they're clothed, and they don't do anything. Like, how much more will your Father in heaven take care of you, right? When Jesus says that, he then goes into talking about the spirit of mammon. He says, no one can serve two masters. Either he hates one, loves the other, but he can't serve both. And he uses this word mammon, and mammon, it means a lot of things. It obviously has to do with money. It means money, but it also has a connotation of trustworthiness. Money is a spirit that elicits trustworthiness. But the problem with the spirit of mammon is that it will take your trust in God away from God and put it into created things. It'll put your trust in money. It'll put your trust in security. It'll put your trust in the economy. It'll put your trust in the governments of the world instead of the government of the kingdom of God. It'll put your trust in created things instead of the creator of all. The spirit of mammon will render God as nothing but a resource where we ask God, give me. And it will render creation as the source instead of God being our source and creation being our resource. And so the spirit of mammon has a way of putting our trust in the wrong things and bringing us into a place of idolatry. We're focused on form and not substance. We have to shift this. And guys, this will be a process. I just want to let you know, this will be a process. It's not like a one and done thing. It's a mental discipline of checking in on yourself. How do I perceive money in this situation? When my bank account is low, will I resist the devil and he will flee? Right? Will I stand firm in the... But sometimes, guys, we have to make a decision not to let our circumstances evangelize to us, right? Like, when my bank account is low, I could both recognize that it's low without buying into a poverty spirit, right? Without going into crisis mode around money. I can have the peace of God. I can be calm. I could say, okay, realistically, I don't have a lot of money. Let me pinch pennies for a couple weeks. That's very wise. But the difference of whether you're operating out of a poverty spirit or a spirit of abundance is your attitude. It's your demeanor. Where are you getting your attitude from? When I look at my bank account and it's low, God has an attitude about that. And so does the devil. The devil will make you fear. It'll make you feel like you don't have anything and you have lack, that you're in poverty. But the Spirit of God, his attitude is different. He's saying, I know you don't got much in your bank account, but you got a lot in your brain. You got a lot in your spirit, man. There's gifts and talents and abilities I've given you. You have access to favor, right? You have open doors available to you. The Bible says that your gifts will make room for you and bring you in the presence of great man. The gifts of God are without repentance. God is giving you gifts. Are you using your gifts to open doors? This is the difference between the perspective of the enemy and the perspective of God. Your economy hangs in a balance between the attitude of the devil and the attitudes of God. Years ago, when I was overcoming some of these financial cycles in my life, God showed me something powerful. He said to me, Matt, I need you to understand something. When the devil is allowed to operate in your life, they have been sent with a budget. I think about Job, for instance, right? When the adversary, Satan, he approached the council of God asking for permission to test Job, he was given parameters. He was given a budget. Then the Spirit of the Lord said to me something profound. He said, Matt, I need you to understand that the devil has a budget, but I have an abundance. Sometimes we don't have to win. We just have to resist. We have to outspend the devil. That's it. Until he runs out of his budget. Because he's given a budget for a reason. There was a reason he was given a budget to test Job. And there was a apportioned timeline and measure within which the devil can operate. And after that, his time is up. Sometimes we just need to resist. We need to outlast the devil. In our demeanor, in our attitude. Sometimes that's the kind of warfare. That's the kind of resistance God's called us to. Sometimes. And after we see the devil run out of his funding, his budget is dry, we begin to see that, wow, God did this for me to increase my faith, to increase my authority. And now I see clearly the adversary having retreated. I see the abundance of God. The inexhaustible source that God is, I now perceive it in a different light. God has abundance. Abundance belongs to God. Okay? So God is our source. And money is just a currency. It's just a technology. It's just a symbol. Right? The valuable thing in you, Christ in you, the hope of glory, manifested through your personality, your gifts, talents, and abilities, has the power to change the world around you. People will recognize the value of that when you focus on the value instead of the currency, okay? All right, I hope this video was insightful to you. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope this helped you on your journey to dethrone the idol of money in the spirit of mammon, that we could focus on the real thing, which is the substance that money represents, the value God's put on the inside of you. And when you can harness that, you could just, it sounds arrogant, you could print money. Yeah? Alchemizing it. Okay? Hope you enjoyed this video. I say this every time. I don't care if you hit the like button, but if you did enjoy the video, please subscribe, because I want to stay connected. I want to keep building this community, building this relationship. I have a mission on this channel. I want to help and do my part to elevate the spiritual intelligence of the world. We're having tough conversations. We're going deep into the mysteries of Christ, talking about all spiritual matters under the sun. And so if you want to join us on this journey, please subscribe. Let's stay connected. And until next time, I'll see you guys next Monday. Same time, same place. Love y'all. Bye.